Okay, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking something incredibly provocative and honestly, a little uncomfortable. We're looking at the late spiritual teacher Osho's philosophy on a highly taboo subject, specifically the psychology behind why men are so intensely attracted to married women. We're going to keep it completely neutral, looking strictly to what the source material actually says to break down the mechanics of human desire, the ego, and, well, some of our darkest hidden instincts.
So, why are men drawn to forbidden territory? You know, it's a question that sounds pretty simple on the surface, right? But the answer is anything but. According to our source material, this isn't just about physical attraction. It's this incredibly intricate web spun by the mind and the soul. In this explainer, we're peeling back the layers of this whole psychological phenomenon, going straight from surface-level ego all the way down to our darkest, most primal evolutionary instincts.
Osho actually makes this super bold claim that sets the perfect stage for our analysis. He says, men don't actually love women, they love their unavailability. Now, according to this rather cynical worldview, the intense attraction a man feels in these situations, it's rarely about the specific person. Instead, it's all about the thrill of the pursuit. It's the intoxicating allure of exactly what is out of reach.
So let's look at the first piece of the puzzle here. Section 1, the game of ego.
The philosophy compares the male mind to a wild jungle, and in this jungle, the lion desires to be the absolute king. But here's the catch. He doesn't just want any lioness. He specifically desires the lioness that belongs to someone else. Why? Because she represents conquered territory. When a man looks at a married woman, Osho suggests he isn't just seeing a person. He's seeing a won battle. He's looking at an area another man has already claimed, and his ego absolutely demands that he plant his own flag there instead. It's literally a pure power play.
To really illustrate this, Osho tells this fascinating story about a young man in Pune. This guy comes to him, bloodshot eyes, completely unable to sleep, just totally obsessed with his married neighbor. And Osho hits him with this piercing question. Do you love the woman or do you love her marriage? Well, the young man fell completely silent. He ultimately realized it was actually the marriage itself, that very barrier of her unavailability that he was lusting after, not the actual woman. Kind of makes you think about how often we see that dynamic play out in the real world, doesn't it?
Which brings us to our next section, Section 2, the allure of unavailability.
Notice this really fascinating psychological shift here. Think about it. When a man pursues an unmarried woman, she represents potential, right? Dreams. In that dynamic, the man gets to feel like the absolute hero of his own story. He's the first, he's the champion. But a married woman, she represents grounded reality and experience. Pursuing her totally strips away that hero complex, and instead, it turns the man into a thief, stealing reality from someone else. And according to the source, the sheer thrill of that theft is highly addictive.
Let's keep digging deeper into Section 3, fear, guilt, and desire.
We usually think of fear and guilt as, negative emotions that stop us from doing things. But get this, incredible confession. A woman once admitted to Osho that her taboo relationship was fueled almost entirely by the sheer terror of getting caught. Osho notes that fear and desire are actually twin brothers. The married woman exists in this state of fear, and the man consciously plays with that guilt and anxiety. That constant looming threat of discovery, it doesn't extinguish the flame at all. It acts like wind on a fire, just deeply amplifying the physical and emotional attraction.
But this creates a totally vicious, inescapable cycle. First, you have the chase, which is fueled entirely by the thrill of unavailability. Then comes the conquest. The thief successfully steals the prize. But the exact moment she is won and becomes fully available to him, boom, boredom strikes. The unavailability that actually fueled the desire is totally dead. In the movies, the hero gets the girl, and the story ends happily ever after. In reality, the source argues, the moment availability sets in, the desire dies, the man's eyes start wandering, and the hunt just restarts somewhere else.
Okay, moving right along to Section 4, escaping the marriage prison. Now, this isn't just a one-sided equation. We have to ask, why do married women willingly participate in this destructive cycle? What does that say about the institution of marriage itself? Well, according to the source material, the daily routine of domestic life inevitably turns the husband into a boring habit. The spark just dies under the weight of predictability. Marriage, instead of being this safe sanctuary, begins to feel like a jail of boredom. And in a jail, what do the inmates want to do? They desperately want to escape. A new man represents new excitement, a new scent, a new feeling, basically a temporary jailbreak from the suffocating routine of daily life. But the philosophy offers a pretty sharp critique of this escapism. It's perfectly captured by an anecdote of a cheating couple who came to Osho. After finally confronting their true feelings, breaking down through tears and then laughter, they realized this profound truth. If love is true, you simply don't need an outside source. The source argues that external affairs are only sought out as a crutch when the internal love within the relationship is already false or dead. So running outside, it's just an illusion of freedom. You're really just trading one jail for another.
Let's transition to Section 5, Primal Instincts and Biology. Now we're stepping away from the mind entirely and looking at raw evolutionary nature. The philosophy argues that men, at their very core, are instinctual creatures of the night. During the day, a married woman plays her domestic roles, right? She's a wife, she's a mother, but at night, she transforms into this secret, nocturnal persona. She becomes the queen of the night, completely separate from her daytime duties. And the man, driven by his own nocturnal nature, is just helplessly drawn to conquer that hidden, nighttime version of her.
And it gets even more primal. The married woman carries the scent of her husband's household, the subtle marks of his presence. Deep down, Osho argues, there's this ruthless evolutionary urge for the invading man to literally erase the scent of the husband. When a man sees a married woman's children, he actually feels a pang of jealousy, because they are biological proof that another man was there. The deepest biological drive is to wipe out the competitor's legacy and replace the husband's biological seed with his own. It's just a raw, brutal game of nature and survival.
Which brings us to our final section, Section 6, the Mirror of Illusion.
This final layer reveals the ultimate truth of the source material. Ready for it? The married woman isn't the prize at all. She's just a mirror. After stripping away the ego, the fear, the boredom, and the biology, we realize the intense attraction is merely a reflection of the man's own inflated ego, his deep-seated weaknesses, and, honestly, his terrifying fear of stillness. The man thinks he's chasing a woman, but in reality, he is desperately running away from himself.
Why run from stillness? Well, because men inherently fear the quiet, unchanging stillness of a committed marriage. To a restless ego, that stillness heavily resembles death. Therefore, chasing the chaotic, high-stakes thrill of taboo love is simply a futile, subconscious attempt to defeat mortality. By conquering the forbidden, the man feels wildly alive, temporarily tricking himself into believing he has literally cheated death itself.
So how do you actually break free from this exhausting illusion? Osho prescribes a very specific antidote, a nightly 10-minute meditation. He suggests just sitting quietly before sleep and simply observing your mind. If the image of a married woman or a forbidden desire pops up, don't fight it. But crucially, don't grasp at it either. Just watch it pass by like a cloud. Ask yourself the deep question, who are you? The goal here is to stop running and finally embrace the stillness, to accept the metaphorical death of the ego, rather than fighting it through destructive affairs.
Which brings us to the end of our explainer. I'm going to leave you with this provocative thought to consider the next time you reflect on the complex and sometimes incredibly dark realities of human attraction. Are our deepest desires actually driven by a need for genuine connection? Or are we all just victims of our own egos, totally addicted to the thrill of the chase and terrified of finally facing ourselves in the mirror? Thanks for joining me on this one, and keep questioning what you think you know.